All right, team. Welcome to the Boulder Athlete Podcast. In the new year, I'm Josh, and I'm joined by Louie, the legend, McMaster. Louie, I've been keeping an eye on your scores when I see them. Occasionally, they pop onto the leaderboard, and I'm like, my goodness, who is this Louie guy? And since then, we've gotten to know each other a little bit, which has been a ton of fun. So we'll talk a little bit about that. But happy Friday, man. Thanks for joining. Glad we get to hang out a little bit here.
Yeah, no, that's cool. No, that's great. It's great to be along.
So, folks, this is our 30th podcast. And if you've not yet liked and subscribed this, please do so because it really does give us feedback, some signal that people actually watch this thing, check this thing out. And that's certainly encouraging for us to keep doing it. But I love the fact that we get to hang with cool folks in the Boulder community. And Louie, as I said, like this legendary status, in my mind, at least, you do have this because I've seen you on that leaderboard, as I said, and some of your scores are like, my goodness, this guy is putting up outrageous times. And before I knew you, of course, my first thing is like, are these real? Is a human being really doing this? And then having the chance to compete alongside of you at Legends, yes, it's very real. And you definitely have a set of specialties that are you're very special at. So I'd love to talk a little bit more about that. We'll get into it, but I want to start with just a little bit more of your background. Like, how did you get to be this version of yourself that you are today? Where did that start? Like, was it athletics way back when?
Yeah, no, I've always kind of been into fitness. Whenever I was growing up, my uncle was really into kind of like weights and all that kind of thing. So like growing up, we would have had, like I remember getting my first York weights bench is York. Over here, York's not as big. Maybe it's bigger over in America now, but my first bench with my barbell with the plastic weights that are full of cement, those ones. And I got the stage in that it was just too light. So then my dad worked in construction. So getting bricks, tying string around the bricks, putting them on the end to add more weight. One of those pull-up bars you had in your hall for your pull-ups, and then we put the blocks round our waists, me and my brothers, so we could do our pull-ups. So it was always kind of there, and the fitness, like wanting to be fit, and like I would be more endurance background. My dad was very good at like cross country, so we kind of did a wee bit of cross country stuff, and then leading in through school was into sports. Then kind of got a wee bit more into
you growing up in Ireland.
In Ireland, yeah. Hopefully, he's gonna make me out.
Well,
we Irish speak fast. But so yeah, then going into school, I just liked physique. I just wanted to look the part, I suppose. So I kind of would have got into not big into bodybuilding type stuff, but more into just kind of, have decent arms, not a great chest because I'm not a great bencher, but just abs and arms. That's all girls seem to look at. Zero legs because they're always covered. But then getting into like PE, loved PE and everything. And then I started training with the rugby guys. Loved doing their circuit training. Loved playing football. I did play football a wee bit more, but the rugby guys trained with those. But as I said to yourself, I just loved the training aspect. But when it came to the sport, so generally sports would have been on, obviously the matches would have been on a Saturday. I would have been out in the building site with my dad working, labouring to him. He was a plasterer, so I would have been labouring to him. So didn't really leave much time for playing the sport, but the training I loved. And then I went on obviously there into university, still going to the gym, more pumped, like doing my strength work, yes, but more just for physique and strength building. And then enter CrossFit back. So I've been doing CrossFit now about 10 years. So it was a guy moved over from Scotland who did CrossFit. And then he opened up a gym near our town and then started there. I remember the first workout was a 6-minute AMRAP of, 5 burpees, 10 sit-ups, 15 air squats for 6 minutes. Like when you think about the WODs that we do now are crazy. And I was sore for days. Something so simple. I was like, I need this. So yeah, and started the CrossFit journey, I suppose. Yeah.
And this was like what year roughly was this?
So that was, let me see, so when did he open? Was it 2000 maybe he opened? Yeah, so it's quite a while ago.
Okay, so you've been
But
at
I
this
must be
for a
doing it
while.
longer than 10 years. Yeah, I'm doing it longer than 10 years. 2013.
That's right about, man, that's almost exactly where I started, somewhere right in there as well. It's funny, I mean, we could take this in a very different direction, but man, I can remember those days. I think I was in like, I had the same weight set, the same bench that was just, the thing was rickety as heck, but it was in my bedroom. You had those like sand filled or cement filled
Yeah.
plates, and you would rack it like on the incline. You could barely get it off, and then pump as many. I remember getting stuck under a barbell several times, having to roll that thing off myself because I'd be in my room with no supervision, trying to get as many reps as possible. And yeah, those were the days, and it was all about like, hey, I'm trying to get some muscles for these
Yeah.
ladies. Like
Well,
that was the only focus,
that
and as
was what it
many
was all
girls
about. Yeah.
I can
It was nothing about competing. It was just about trying to look good.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then that's where the hey, how much can you bench conversations started. And that was just a way of life for many
Yeah.
years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I can relate. And in terms of physique, you have an incredible physique. That was one of the things that I noticed. I mean, look, I'm a fan of the human body as much as anybody. And I remember when you first joined Boulder, I was like, okay, and I saw your scores, and I was like, who is this guy? So I did a little stalking. I looked on your Instagram, and my goodness, like it looks like you had a bodybuilding background, given some of the things that you had posted. So your emphasis on physique, certainly your genetics played a huge role there. Talk to me about like your diet. What does that look like on a day-to-day basis? And do you have any special emphasis there, or is this just kind of,
Yeah, that would be a fun because I think a lot of people, I suppose, because of my physique in the past, would have commented as like, "Oh, you must be like strict on everything." I haven't been strict on everything, but that's not to say I eat really bad. I don't, and I don't eat bad at all. But I probably am a grazer, so I would eat small and often as opposed to like a big meal. So maybe that's my metabolism's just constantly, let's keep firing here, as opposed to like a big meal and then it's just like slowly kind of digesting. So I'm very much a grazer that way. I've now over the years been very much set on what I eat is what I eat, and I don't really deviate from that. Obviously, when it comes to dinners at night, we just vary what we eat at dinners. But my breakfast in the morning is my bagel, my 2 eggs, and a slice of bacon. Lunchtime generally is sometimes something similar to that as well. Obviously in between that there'll be some fruit, or some carbs of some sort. Then I've got my protein shake in the afternoon. Then I've got my meal, and then leading into the evening, I'll have. So I don't know whether crunchy nuts a thing with you. So it's basically like yeah, crunch. I have my crunchy nuts. I have to have my crunchy nuts. I don't know whether you know Fab lollies. So it's nothing special. So basically, it's kind of like a strawberry under, and then there's a bit of white at the top, and then at the top there's chocolate with sprinkles.
is this like a yogurt type, but it
No,
has
no,
some
no,
chocolate?
no, no. It's just an ice lolly, an ice pop, or whatever you would call it. But it's just a lolly. But me and my wife, we finish every night before we go to bed with a Fab lolly. If that's the secret, I have no clue. But no, there's no real set diet. But I don't eat. I don't eat terrible. Like there was a time every evening, me and my wife would have sat down, had like a big-ish sort of packet of crisps, and just shared between us, and then always finished with our lolly. We don't really do that as much now. Don't. But I suppose back in the day, I was like, I can burn off a bad diet. Not that I had a really bad diet, but it's not about that. Once you're trying to be relatively competitive, you need to. Nick, if you eat really bad one day, you're going to feel really sluggish the next day. I would always have found that effect. So, but no, I have no set diet. I don't eat salads all the time or that sort of stuff, but I do carb. One thing I did kind of get, I suppose, from Jason watching his YouTubes was the whole rice and the cheese. I was like, I'm gonna have to give that a go. So I've actually given it a go every now and again. Doesn't sound the most appealing, but it's just like, listen, it's carbs. So we need carbs to fuel. A lot of people think, no, no, ease off the carbs, but you need something to keep you going. So especially with our training.
Yeah, I definitely find that as well. My diet's maybe similar in certain regards. It's not, I would never consider it super strict, but if I compare it to the average American, yeah, it
Yeah.
probably looks a little wonky. But I've been going back and forth on intermittent fasting. For the last several years, I have
Oh, okay.
intermittent fasted. And so I would finish my last snack at like 7:30, and then I would eat at like 11:30 a.m. the following day. That worked for me for a long time. I've been fudging that a little bit recently, trying to have some fuel in the morning as I'm finding myself quite hungry, like really, really hungry earlier these days, which I attribute to training harder, longer, those kinds of things. But yeah, and then just a lot of lean meats and, a lot of fair amount of rice. But I do find that sometimes like, I'm a pizza, not addict, but I love pizza.
Yeah.
Love pizza. And so naturally that comes with a few carbs. But I do find I tend to perform quite well after some pizza. Not that day, but like the following day, given the carb load that provides. And sometimes I try to use that to convince myself I can eat pizza all the time. But yeah, we definitely need some carbs. So your dinners, sorry, I'm super interested in this conversation, and I think others. I get asked this a lot, so I can only imagine how much you get asked this, given you look the way that you look. Is you said you vary your dinners? Does that mean you eat something different than the rest of your family, or as a
Oh no, no,
family?
oh no, we all eat the same. The boys might eat something different, but no, me and my wife would always eat like this week. What we've had like some Thai curry, then we've had some chicken fried rice, and then tonight I made steaks. You know what I mean? Well, there, no, but I don't eat
Yeah.
different to my family. No, no, we'll always eat the same. But the boys might eat something different. Maybe Jesse, my eldest boy, he might eat similar to us. Remy, my youngest, sometimes he's a wee bit pickier, so he might change up things. So
Very cool. How many kids do you have?
you have two. Remy is 3 and Jesse's 12.
Okay.
So there's a wee
Are
bit
they,
of gap.
do they follow the like, hey, dad's pretty fit. How is dad so fit? Do I need to start doing things dad's doing? Is that in the house?
Remy's kind of getting that way. Our eldest boy, Jesse, he's non-verbal. So we obviously have never had that sort of with Jesse. And so he has other needs then as well. So Remy, that's why we waited so long. So we had Jesse, and Jesse was around 5 or 6. We were thinking, okay, we actually got gene testing done just to see if there was anything that we were carrying that possibly could transfer over to another child if we had another child. But it was just a mutation that Jesse took, a gene mutation that caused him to be, he's non-verbal and he would have low muscle tone. So for him now, you've seen what height I am. I'm not a very tall person, I'm not. But Jesse would be up to my shoulder roughly now, a wee bit higher. So if he was to fall in a room, he physically couldn't get himself up. He would have to crawl and try and pull himself up. And so the low muscle tone transfers across his body, his muscles, and then into like he's non-verbal, and his global delay, his mental delay is like he'd be very behind as well. So we don't really have that. So then we got gene tested, and it was like it was just a gene mutation, freak. Like there's only ever been like they say like 6 to 7 recorded cases in the world of this gene mutation. So then when we knew that, then we tried for another child and it didn't seem to be happening. And then the next thing, then Remy came along. So Remy is say he's 3 and he's just like, I'm going to be stronger than daddy. And he's now started to that. Like we bring him down to the gym. He's only kind of getting a wee bit more interest. So he was down in the gym there today and he was hanging on the rings. And so he's and he has a 1 kilo dumbbell and he'll snatch the dumbbell, so as time goes on, we'll see. I'm not obviously, as a parent, you're never going to push them into anything. If he's interested in it. But I've said to him, listen, as he gets older, he'll have our gym. The gym will be his. The business will be his. He's all excited about this, but whether it happens, who knows?
Well, that's cool. And man, I have incredible respect for parents that are raising children with special needs. Luke Offield was on the podcast as well, and
Yes, I listened to it.
yeah, he's a real special guy. He and his wife both, and their family is pretty darn incredible. And it just the way that shapes your life and the selflessness that it requires and the compassion that it develops is like superhuman. So yeah, major respect to you, buddy, and thoughts and prayers go to you and your family, of course. You mentioned that you're also a gym owner, so I think is it CrossFit Unifi?
CrossFit Unifi, yeah.
Yeah, tell me about that. When did you open your gym?
So we opened it. We had our 3-year anniversary there on December. So during the whole COVID period, obviously I was training for the games. Whenever I was in the old gym, it was CrossFit Enniskillen. I qualified for the games then and came back from the games. Then obviously that was after COVID, all that kind of stuff. Some guys were saying, listen, you've made it to the games. Would you not think about, this is an opportunity. Your name's out there now. Open a gym of your own. Personally, CrossFit's big in other countries. It's not that massive here. So for me to go around and say, here guys, I went to the CrossFit Games, they're like, what's the CrossFit Games? You want me to come to your gym because you went to CrossFit? You know what I mean? So, but then it got to the point we actually left the gym and then we took the plunge, which was the weirdest thing ever. It's like, so me and my wife are both wedding photographers. So we had
That's your full-time gig.
Pardon?
That's your full-time
That's our full-time. Well,
primary.
that was our full-time job. And we were
Okay.
both wedding photographers. We were shooting up in like 45, 50 weddings a year. So we had a full diary for us. The previous for the next year. So in July, the 12th of July, which obviously being from where we are, 12th of July is a big day over here. And we took the plunge, decided to go and check out a unit. That same year, like I say, the year following, we had a full diary of weddings. Lou was pregnant with Remy. Remy was due in September, and we decided to open a gym that December. Why we decided to do that is beyond me. But we took the plunge, me, Lou, and then Lou's mum and dad kind of helped with the whole setup. So we made the decision in July, got the unit, nailed it down, ordered everything from China, came over, and then opened the gym in December. So we've been open 3 years now, CrossFit Unifi.
Right on.
Yeah. No, we're in a very, very small town, but we have just a really good, I know that everyone says the buzzword of a CrossFit community. We do have an amazing community, and they just back each other, especially the 930. We have the 930 women, the girls, the hype squad, I always call them. So they were following me all the time when I was in Legends. They would always go for coffee after. Like, there is just such a great wee bunch of people. And so many people have said to me, it was the perfect time to open up the gym in 5 Mile Town, which is like 7 minutes from us. So, but yeah, no, it's going brilliant. Like, obviously there's ebbs and flows with members. You'll always get that.
Yeah.
But we have a good bunch of people. We definitely do.
That's really cool. I, for a very short time, was a gym owner as well and worked in a facility as the manager of a much larger facility.
Yeah.
So I'm very familiar with like the different crowds that come in at different times.
Oh, yeah.
And you're spot on. That 9:30, 10 a.m. crew, like all those moms,
Yes.
that the funnest group for sure. The most vocal, the most diehard and consistent. Yeah, that's a good crew.
Yeah.
I can imagine
They are.
that.
My girls are. There's a lot of questions be asked all the time. Probably need a wee bit more patience with them, but they are. Yeah, no, I get on really well with the 9:30 ones, and they'll probably watch this and they'll be like over the moon that they got a mention.
Hey, shout out to the 930s.
Yeah.
Right on. Oh, that's super cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a little bit of, you touched on your games history. I want to go into that a little bit. What year was the first year that you made it to the games?
So I made it 2021. So that was, it was in Madison. Going the
Yeah.
backstory of that, obviously I've been doing CrossFit for quite a while. And then COVID hit. I actually got hit really bad with COVID. I was hospitalized with it, and I came out. So I was in hospital with double pulmonary pneumonia. So I was hospitalized for about 3 days. I remember at the time then coming out. So Emma McQuaid, she used to be my coach. She was my coach for years. And coming out, and it took me literally, it must have taken me about a month before I could do anything. I was gassed. I just had no stamina. The like bending down. I remember there was actually one time I really remember being outside whenever Lou's mum and dad had come over, and there was a weed on the ground, and I bent down to pick up the weed to pull it out, and I was breathless. Getting out of bed, I physically had to prepare myself to lie down in bed. I physically had to prepare myself to get up out of bed because my lungs just couldn't take it. I was just out of breath. So it took me about a month, as I say, to try and get back into some sort of training. And then,
Sorry, I'm going to interject real quick. Thinking of like, had you not been as fit as you had been, could you have withstood that flavor of COVID versus someone that got the same flavor as you that doesn't have your fitness level? Man,
yeah,
they make out.
that's one thing I suppose. It's just hard to be able to tell, did that have a factor and kind of coming back? So there was a lot of scar tissue to my lungs. And then a year on after COVID, I got to see a scan done on my lungs, and a lot of that scar tissue had gone. Whether that was a case of the fitness, the history I had with training and everything, I can't say that it didn't. It's bound to have had some sort of effect. And so that was October. I took COVID. And it was the year after then I made it to the games. So in my mind, I kind of almost put that down to, well, listen, people haven't been in gyms. COVID had happened. I had a full facility at home in my garage. As everything started happening, I started kind of getting equipment. So I was able to push hard when others probably couldn't in the gyms. So I always put it down to the fact, okay, I think maybe I made it to the games because I could train.
You just got a head start post-COVID.
Yeah. But so that year I made it, there was top 20 went, and I went into the games 10th.
What division were you in?
35-39.
Okay.
Yeah. So like the people in my category then was Kyle Casterbar, who won it, James Hobart, Dan Bailey was supposed to be in my category, but unfortunately he took COVID in Madison whenever he traveled out, because that was that whole. I honestly didn't even think I was going to be able to make it out to America because the restrictions getting over, and then I was able to go out. I went out on my own. I was in America for 13 days on my own. Emma was out as well. Emma Quaid, she was competing, so she had her own thing, so she couldn't really be there with me that much, either. Yeah, it was a weird year, but there was some, and then JR obviously from Crucible CrossFit Crash, JR Howell. He's one of these big programmers now. He's making a big splash at the minute, so he was in my category as well back in the day, so there was some good guys.
Definitely. What a cool experience.
Madison was amazing.
Yeah, Jason brings that up occasionally, and I just like, oh, that would have been so cool.
All the free gear from Noble was insane.
I know, I heard that. I've heard that from a few people.
Yeah, that experience was just phenomenal. Don't get me wrong, like whenever we went, so you were there the year 2024 as well?
Yeah.
No, yeah, in Alabama. Yeah, so the experience was something similar. I could tell they were going for the same as the Noble, but Noble was just next level.
That's awesome. Before we move on from that, what was it, 6th you took?
6th. So technically I came 7th, but then there was someone got drug tested and they failed the drug test. So then although their name wasn't stroked out in the leaderboard, all that kind of stuff, I've given myself 6th place.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Of course. The same thing happened to me in 24.
Yeah. You know what I mean? So, yeah, so it was 6th, yeah. But I say the experience was just, it was phenomenal. Yeah.
Man, that's so cool. And to take 6th in Madison with an incredibly competitive group of athletes, that's quite an accomplishment. Definitely a badge of honor. Is that the picture that you have in the back? Is that from that year?
That's the picture. CrossFit called it the Scream. To be honest, it was more the fact that, so in that particular, when that shot was taken, that was the final event. I came 3rd in it. So Kyle Costabar, he won it, then James Hobart, then I came 3rd. But it was just the fact that I'd actually survived, the 9 events, because it is a grueling time. And then it makes it even more applicable, the fact of what happened to me in 2024 in Alabama. The way I wasn't able to finish the test, but to finish the test, and that's the test that's given to us. And to know you've accomplished it, it's just, it's amazing.
Yeah, that's also I think it's your profile pic.
It is, yeah. Oh no, that's never coming down. I'm forever gonna be 37, forever.
Absolutely. That's a great shot, man. A great shot. Okay, well, let's see. Where do we want to go next? Let's jump to Legends. So we just had Legends in, when was that? Was it December? It was last month.
December, yeah. Sorry, December. Yeah.
Feels like it was quite a while ago.
Yeah.
But that was the first time that I got to meet you in person, and that was really cool. I had this vision of who Louie was, and obviously we both did the qualifier. We were both right up there towards the top of the leaderboard, and going into Legends. So personally, I was like, look, this is a big deal. It was probably the first competition that I felt like I really have a shot. Now, there were some others that I wanted to be really competitive. The games I wanted to be really competitive, but I think part of me was like, look, I don't know if I'm prepared to win the CrossFit Games, but so this one was like, hey, I think it's there. And then, so I'm going in like, Louie's the guy though, but Louie's the guy that he is the one that I've got my eyes on. And you were so impressive. You were like, your first day, I'm going to just give you my take on this, and then you can correct me and give me your take. Your first day put you a little bit in a hole. So I don't know how much of a swimmer you are.
No. Yeah.
Swim event, and then we had
the
snatch. Yeah, so it was odd that we were in a pool, and then we had a kind of a specialty. There were 2 specialty events, essentially.
Yeah, there were very much, yeah.
And then coming out of that, man, you put it on really hard. And I don't know how many first place finishes did you have?
3, was it? 3 and then a 4th? 3, yeah.
Yeah, you were stealing points really fast.
You weren't giving them up, though.
Well, I was trying not to.
I needed help, because that was the only way, because like you are a bigger guy than me. And that's why I was just like, I think I'm going to get him in the burpees here. Man, you can move. I was like, no.
Shocker.
What? Yeah, slow down.
that was the last day, the second to last workout. I mean, at that point, it was very clear that you had as good a shot at it as I did, given the way that the workouts were lining up and where it was very clear you had some real superpowers. And we were right next to each other, lanes next to each other on that burpee workout. Thankfully, it was only 4 minutes.
Yeah.
And, in a short period of time, I can be fast. You stretch that time domain and things start to slow down pretty good. I suppose that's true for many, but
No, but here,
this
no,
is
you
particularly true
can
for me.
move in a burpee. And I was just like, because obviously everyone just thinks burpees and snatch, because obviously the range of motion with the snatch, burpee, closer to the ground, all that kind of stuff. But no, you can move in a burpee. You took me off guard.
I was pacing against you pretty hard in that event. I was very clear on where you were
Yeah.
on every burpee, and I was like, well, so
And then,
far, we're neck and neck.
yeah, I think it was like then 1 second, was it, in the tie break?
Oh,
See,
is
there
that
was a
right?
tie break, I think, was it after the nines?
I think,
Was it after the nines? I think it was after the nines, was it? So then we did 3, 6, and 9. I think there was a tie break once you finished the snatches, was it? I can't remember. But you got me by a second. But did we get the same score? We got the
no,
same score. Or did you get one
no.
extra burpee?
You were at the top of the box and hadn't come to the ground yet. And so I mean, I don't know what your score was, but I don't think you get credited that score.
Okay, okay.
So technically, I think I got one more burpee,
One
even though
burpee,
you're
and then
like
you got
a
1
rep
second.
behind.
So you came,
Yeah.
did you come third or second in that one?
I don't think I got second. I don't know what I got.
Third. I think I was fourth then, maybe. I was behind you. So that was one I was kind of hoping to kind of get some points. And then, obviously, then in different events, I just needed people in between you and me. But
Yeah.
you just weren't willing to let people get in between you and me.
Well,
So that's
yeah.
the way it
And that
ended.
last event, I mean, that had your name written all over it. And so that was tough because I pretty much had you chalked down as like Louie's going to take this event. And so I can't get caught up in trying to chase you
Yeah,
and follow your strategy
yeah.
because your strategy would not have worked for me. I had to break that up in a way that, allowed me to stay confident and, continuously move. And I wasn't even watching you intentionally because I know that if I had kept a closer eye on you, I probably would have fallen into a chase mode,
Hmm.
and that would have got a little dangerous for me. So I don't know where I finished in that event overall, but I think it was maybe third or fourth or somewhere in there, which I was really happy with because we're was at the games. Not that the event was similar, but I got crushed in a workout towards the end of the competition that had ring
So
muscle ups in it,
snatch,
and
was it?
the one at the games.
Yeah. Because I tested it. Was it ring muscle ups and snatch and box jumps or something? Or was it thrusters?
No, that might have been it.
I can't
I
remember.
get there's two events that happen in the same space, and I get those two
Yeah.
events confused. But I think what you just said is right. Yeah, that one got me badly, and I was having a little bit of nightmares,
Because
visions about
going into that final event, obviously it started with shot runs.
Mm,
Jason had actually, because I'd bumped into Jason before the event, and Jason was like, "Oh, here, what are you thinking?" Because obviously Jason maybe had seen some stuff on the leaderboard as well and saw that gymnastics would be more my thing with me being that bit small or whatever. And he said, "Jason, are you going to go unbroken?" And I was just like, "I think I might." But I like from the space of doing the first workout, which was what 9:30 in the morning, and then the
mm.
final was at 4. You had all that time of thinking, do I really have the ability to go unbroken? So I was doubting myself the whole time. But going into the workout, you guys started going really fast in the shot runs. And I was like, okay, these guys are either trying to hire me out. This is not working into my strategy of going unbroken. So unless I don't know something and they're trying to kill me, or they're going to go hard in these shot runs and still go unbroken. Going into the first set, I was just like, okay, I'm a wee bit more gassed than I wanted to go into trying to do a set of 15. So then when I was able to get it, I was just like, okay, I think I've got this now. After that, the last 9 were absolutely horrendous.
Mm.
They were awful.
Well, I'm glad to hear you say that at least. That it was not easy.
It was not easy. And then whenever you're in the middle of it, you're just like, well, you've done all the rest. You can't come down now because you could just hear everyone just go,
Yeah, because they're on the sidelines going, oh, he's gonna go
and
unbroken. Yeah,
you don't
that's
want to
really
be
good.
that person. You're just like, hold on. But yeah, so it was good.
And
It was a
so
good way to finish it, yes. But yeah, it was a good competition. That whole wee battle, definitely.
that was a ton of fun. I mean, Would it have made my life a little less stressful had you not been there? Yes, but like ultimately I wouldn't want it
Likewise.
any other way. In that, it just adds such a fun, this is what CrossFit's all about. Like the fact that you can be a real good sport and be friendly and like genuinely excited about the success of those around, even though you're trying to beat everybody. Like
Yeah.
everybody's trying to beat everybody. That's very clear. But like the fact that, you're a Boulder athlete, I'm cheering for you and I want to see you kick butt. And so the fact that you were on the podium, Justin Brewer, close buddy of
Yeah.
mine, was also on
Yeah.
the
That
podium.
was so cool that
Boulder,
he made it too. Yeah.
that was so cool. Yeah, you absolutely crushed it. And I mean, it's one of those scenarios where, hey, had the programming been a little bit different, you just never know what might have happened, and it could have
You
totally
don't.
shaken up that whole podium.
All you want is a test and see if you can accomplish the test, so you never know what's going to come.
That's right. Well, I got to assume that the games is now very much on your radar
Games.
this year.
Yeah. It's just as well other years. And so after I made 2021, I think the year after that, there was a mishap in one of my videos. So I was doing this, I think it was a semi-finals. It was a shuttle run, bench press, and rope climb workout. So it was a pretty long duration workout. And we were doing it together. And had one camera set up. And I'd set the camera up and I finished. And then I was waiting for my mate to finish. And he finished. And stupidly, I don't know why, but I suppose that being a good friend and everything, I went and I videoed his stuff first. So I videoed the shuttle runs, I videoed his bench to make sure he had the 84 kilo on, videoed his rope, and then I went to video mine. And Lou was the one holding the camera, my wife. She didn't realize it had stopped, but it had stopped.
Mm.
I did not know that it had stopped. Lou did not realize that it had stopped. Anyway, it comes to the end of the window. Obviously, you submit your scores. Obviously, after the weekend, I don't know why, for whatever reason, I wasn't sleeping that well, so I ended up sleeping in the sofa in my living room or my sitting room. I woke up in the middle of the night and I just checked my phone and I got an email from HQ. Do you mind sending across the extended video of your such and such workout? Which I instantly like, okay, what are they talking about? So I looked at my video and I realized that it had stopped. That was me out. That was the end of the games for me that year.
That was the
Yeah,
following
I think that was the following year, was it? I can't remember
22.
what happened in 2023, but I was kind of set to make it, and then it didn't happen. And in 2024, I made it back. Then obviously with my back and everything, but then with the whole this year, I had a hernia in January, a really, really bad dose, and I was coughing, believe it or not. And I coughed really hard and I felt something move. So it was an inguinal hernia, so down in the groin. Felt something move and I was like, that's really weird. I don't know what that was. I put my hand down and I felt a wee bulge, and anyway, it just moved, disappeared again. I coughed again, really, really bad, really violent cough, and it popped out. And then found out that it was an inguinal hernia. So I had to have surgery, keyhole surgery. I got the first workout done in the open. I just did it because I just did it with my guys at the gym, and then I had surgery, and then that was me out last year. But and then my back injury, obviously 2024. But now the fact that CrossFit have brought everyone together again, who does not want to make it to the games? Like I've experienced that, and it's just phenomenal. So yeah, I'd love to get back.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Well, I mean, I hope you can stay healthy because you clearly, from an athletic capacity and skill set and strength, all the things, like you've got all that it requires
Mhm.
to be really competitive there. So it's always a shame if something comes up that removes some of the most capable athletes from that kind of an environment. I hope
Yeah,
you're able to get there, man. Certainly root for you.
hopefully, yeah.
Yeah. Well, so talk to me about then Boulder. How long have you been with Boulder? When did you start? What's your experience been like?
So yeah, it was last June. I started. So, like I said, I was on Emma's programming for. So Emma was the one that brought me to the games. Actually, got me to the games. So I started doing individual programming away from the class for quite a few years, even before that. And then I made it to an event over in England, Strength and Depth, and Emma, she was competing at it. She had said, she was just there, she was supporting me. I was on a different program at the time, and I said to Lou at the time, I was like, I'm going to take a wee break from personalized programming or semi-personal programming. I'm just going to enjoy CrossFit for a wee bit. And I said, if I ever go on to personalized programming, I'm going to go to Emma. So Then after a while, I thought, okay, I'm going to go back onto semi-personal programming just to push me on. So I went on to Emma's programming, and I've done it for so many years. I think then with owning the gym, I got kind of to the point where I just was starting to get really lonely, constantly training on my own.
Yeah.
And so I go down, I train before class, I coach the class, I train after class. And I was thinking, okay, I need to enjoy this again. And very much then with the program and M's program, there was getting to be points with the wedding photography, with owning the gym, with the family needs with Jesse, with my own training. I was struggling to put that green tick beside everything.
Yeah.
And that was really starting to get to me. Because if you're training, you really want to get it all done. You do. And you feel terrible if you don't get it done. So then I was just like, I need a change. And then I seen Boulder. And then the fact that it was supposed to be more geared towards a Masters athlete, which I needed to start looking after myself anyway. And then I would have quite a few, say my gym would be probably maybe 30 plus, might be like 60% would be 30 plus possibly. And there's 60, 70%, and then the rest would be younger. So I was like, okay, I could use some of this programming to kind of help in a class setting, kind of adapt this a wee bit. Then it means that maybe I've got some scores to kind of. So I've done so generally the way it works, I'll do the workouts, and my gym's like 2 weeks behind me. So I'll have done them. I know the stimulus. I know, okay, guys, for those guys wanting to be a wee bit more competitive, like say in the open, this is my strategy. You can either take it or you can leave it, but this is what worked for me. I think this will work for you. So, and there's a really good side of that going in, being a gym owner to try and really guide your members. So it kind of opened up this other thing. So yes, I really enjoyed Boulder, but it meant that I could use that to kind of bring my guys on, keep them safe with all the percentage work. Don't get me wrong, Boulder, once I started it, I was just like, oh my goodness, I've like done like in a week 50 ring muscle ups, 80 bar muscle ups, 100 toes to bar. I was like, is this what masters are supposed to be doing? You know what I mean? But so obviously I dial that back a wee bit for my guys. But yeah, Emma had always brought on my gymnastics and my strength, and it's kind of filtered through, I suppose, then as well into Boulder. So that was why I kind of made the change, because I felt now I was able to get the programming done, and I was able to use it, and maybe I'm going to feel a wee bit better now going forwards. The weird thing is, being on it, I didn't know whether I was ready for Legends, I'll be honest, because I was used to going into competitions being a little bit more beat up. Whereas, like, I don't know whether it was never really said to me, like, okay, we're going to go into a deload now, we're going to push for 4 weeks, we're going to go into a deload. That was never really said to me. So to have that structure, I went into the Legends thinking, listen, I don't know whether I'm ready or not. Let's just see how this goes. Let's see if this works. I've done competitions at home here. And yes, my level, according to some of the Irish guys, would be up there, even though I'm 40 plus and they're like in their 20s. And I was still competitive. I was still podiuming and all that kind of thing. But I was just like, okay, this is a bigger stage. This is a test. Let's just see. So, and my body was able to perform, even though I didn't think I was ready. So it works. So obviously the real test now, obviously it didn't help with my back kind of going out there for a week. Maybe it was a good week to miss for the tests, I suppose, because they're all heavy lifts, that kind of thing. That's nice to
You're
have to
referring to
go.
the testing week that we're doing right now, by the
Yeah, the
way.
testing week that that just happened there. I did some of the gymnastics ones with my back being better, but the strength ones I didn't want to risk because I have to think about the bigger picture. So this will be a real good test now to see, okay, can I perform to the open? Can that filter through the quarters, semis? Can I make it to the games on this program? So this will be a real test, definitely.
Yeah, that's really funny that comment. I think there's something there. Jason and I talk a lot about this, like the recipe. The comment that you just made that I'm referring to is you didn't feel beat up going in. And because you didn't feel beat up, then you questioned essentially, are you ready? Are you doing the right things? Which is funny because I've definitely gone through that where I just assume that you got to go more, you got to go harder, and that you're going to feel the ramifications of all that increased intensity, and that then is the proof point that you're as ready as you're going to be for a competition. And while you can make that feel kind of logical, it's actually not super logical. And the approach that Jason takes in programming in Boulder is very specific in this recipe, and when the recipe is followed, man, your ability increases, but your body doesn't feel destroyed. And I haven't followed the recipe perfectly all the time, but when I do, that's the outcome that I get is I'm really capable and I'm like, and my body feels really good. And that's when I know that I'm hitting the sweet spot in terms of, the temperature of the oven, how I'm cooking things up each morning, that I'm truly following the recipe and how Jason has thoughtfully laid it out. And yeah, that gives me more incentive to do it truly as it's prescribed and stop assuming I know better and doing it my way, which is what a lot of people do. And yeah, what a great proof point for you to go to lessons and kick ass the way that you did.
So yeah, it will be like, there's times, I suppose, in other programs that I've been on, it was just like you were on your back all the time.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's ones that Jason fires in there, you're thinking, oh, this might be okay. And you're just like, okay, that was not okay. You know what I mean? And it's
Yeah.
the same thing with my members as well. They kind of look at something on the board and they're just like, well, this seems okay. And I'm just like, guys, I've tested this. It looks okay. Just, it'll bite round number 3. Just prepare for it. And then they do the workout. And I was like, well, when did it bite, guys? Round number 3. And I was like, you know what I mean? So there is these sneaky ones in there, definitely, So I don't know personally whether my strength numbers, I think maybe more with myself. I have to be realistic when it comes to my strength numbers. I'm never going to be one of the strongest guys out there. I'm not. As long as I can move moderate weight better. Whether or not I was working off I know Jason, chatting to him, he was like, and other guys that they feel like they're still PBing. I don't know whether I will keep PBing as such. It just gets to the point where I'm just going like, okay, this is my ceiling. I'm getting older. I am. It comes to a point where things are going to have to start coming down. So my expectations there are starting to come down a wee bit more. But as for everything else, no, I'm just gonna just keep pushing. But yeah, no, it seems to be working.
I'm glad to hear you say that. And that's another really interesting point is like, it's kind of an open question. Like, when is that time where you start to settle is the word that's coming to mind. And I really don't like that word. I don't like settling at all. But like where you become satisfied with the strength numbers and you're kind of saying, you know what, if I can just put this on a maintenance mode
Yeah.
where I'm holding these strength numbers, but I'm improving maybe my technique or my, aerobic base. Ultimately, that does fill some gaps and it does make you a better competitive athlete. That's still a totally reasonable approach. I have found myself kicking around that idea recently, and I don't know if I'm willing to give up my pursuit for more strength, but I'm definitely much more self-aware and more realistic in that, look, I have the strength, all the strength that I need.
Either, yeah.
I clearly need some other things. And I'm much more willing to say, if I can hold, I know that that's a competitive level to hold my strength at. And I know that these are the areas that ultimately, if I want to accomplish something special in the sport, I need to go do X, Y, and Z. So I'm just becoming, I don't know if my ego's finally getting in check, but maybe that's part of it. But I am much more willing to go pursue those other things now than I have been in the past. And having had that mindset now for the past year and a half with Boulder, I've had more success, more proof points that that is a better approach. And so with that success comes like more incentive to follow that path. So, and I'm really curious how others feel about that as well. And like if there is a point in time where they've had that moment where you're like, you know what, I'm okay if my strength numbers start to go down now. That's a tough truth to
I'd
call
love
out.
mine to stay where they are. I suppose, like, we did a testing week this week now, right enough, and I say I missed it, but they weren't 1 RMs, they were like 3 RMs or whatever. It was never going to that. But apart from, was it today? Was there a max clean and jerk? Was there?
Oh yeah, max clean and jerk, max front squat today.
Yeah. They are, well, not saying the clean and jerk, but the front squat's that bit safer for me personally. Maxing out my back squat terrifies me now. So I've been basing it off my previous best when it comes to my deadlift. I was basing off my previous best. Whether I'm short, I've got long arms, deadlift should be my thing. But I think now with the fear that I have with my back, it wasn't the deadlift. It was dead stop deadlifts the week prior. It was just a combination of a lot of things, and then with a lot of hinging, and then me jumping into some of the class workouts, which I shouldn't have been doing if I was still with Emma. she would give me the biggest chewing ever because you shouldn't be doing that in the first place. You know, Jason's give us a recipe, as you say, you stick to it, you don't deviate. And I did, and as a result, so there's certain movements now or lifts I'll probably be a wee bit more cautious with because it's not worth
Yeah.
the gain for a setback, you know. So
Yeah, a back injury can be so detrimental to your progress.
oh yeah,
And it's just the thing that you're alluding to, which is like there's the confidence element, the fear, the risk that you're going to do it again. Man, it's hard to get rid of that. And so you carry that a long time. And every time you pick up a bar and every time you get underneath a front squat and like every lift, you thinking, is this going to be the moment, where I redo it? And
yeah.
that's a terrifying place to be because it does govern your performance significantly.
Yeah, oh no, it definitely does. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I hope you recover quickly. I don't know where you would
No,
rate
so
yourself.
all good. Like I say, it's nothing compared to Alabama. Alabama, I was out for weeks, and I was just gutting, obviously, being the whole way out in Alabama, it was the first time I brought my family out to an event, and then for it to happen after the fourth event, I think it was, fifth event. I was after this natch. It went, and I couldn't put on my shoes. That's how bad it was. Just agonizing pain. So it was never at that level, thankfully, this time. So it was just trying to be very cautious with it. I say I have done some of the gymnastics tests and playing about with those this week, but as for lifting, I haven't done anything to try and save myself and then get straight back into it next week full health.
And I think you had mentioned you're on the Fitter app, right? It was
I
primarily what
was
you
the
use.
Fitter app, but then I went back onto Beyond the Whiteboard. Fitter, they changed things up. So they used to always give you your weights. So do you know the way like it instantly worked out your percentage. Generally in Beyond the Whiteboard, you've got your complexes, which we would do a lot, but Fitter was almost able to work it out straight away what you had to do. So I loved that.
Yeah,
And then they started fooling around in the back end of the app and it stopped doing it.
mm-hmm.
So I was just like, well, that's the reason why I was using Fitter in the first place. So I was just like, I'm just going to go back on the Beyond the Whiteboard. So I'm back on the Beyond the Whiteboard now, like so I am. But yeah, I just haven't really done as much this week, just with everything, you know.
Okay, well, that's good news. At least I'll see you on the leaderboard there.
Yes.
Iron sharpens iron, man. I'll definitely keep an eye, and I know that you'll push me and the rest of the community, which we'll all be grateful for.
Next week, deload week.
Yeah, buddy.
It's a good week to jump in, dip the
That is.
toe back in again. About I don't know how many ring muscle ups or bar muscle ups are programmed next week for our deload, but we'll just
Did
take
you
it.
do today's test? Yeah, today was the ring muscle up and bar muscle up test.
I did the ring muscle ups. I didn't do the bar muscle ups because I didn't start feeling it on my back as such. But you know, the way obviously the bar muscle up is just that bit more aggressive with on the back. I did the ring muscle ups, and then I did strict handstand push ups. I did the toes to bar.
What'd you get on all those?
The ring muscle ups, 18. I preferred the very much shorter straps in Legends. Those straps were incredible in the Legends. They should bring me back a lot more. So I would use, they weren't really long straps.
Yeah,
but
it made them feel super snappy.
oh my goodness. Once I jumped up and did the first one, I was just like, oh yes, these feel good. Yeah, they were so great. Toes to bar, I got 50. Handstand push-ups, 41 strict handstand push-ups.
Nicely done.
But I was just like, it's weird, like whenever you haven't really done much that week, you just feel so rusty, but then it just feels so good to get back at it again, you know? So obviously I did the toes to bar, but the thought of doing 50 GHDs, and that did obviously not happen.
Yeah, not a smart move.
Yes, though. So I just had to be very careful. But I love some of the wee tests that kind of just, I don't know what's going to happen with those numbers going forward. If we're going to use, whatever percentage. I'm not sure. I don't know what Jason has planned or whether it was just a wee bit of fun for us to see, just to build some confidence in ourselves. You know, if we were going into a workout, okay, I could actually do 30 toes to, you know what I mean, or whatever.
Yeah, I'm not sure what he has planned either. I've really enjoyed the testing week.
You enjoyed that 3 overhead squat, did you?
Yeah, that's a pretty good movement for me. That went all right.
Well, I seen it in your Instagram. That was brilliant, man. Well done.
Yeah, thanks. Everything else overhead has been really challenging this week, though. Like we did just a jerk, 1 RM jerk, split
Was
jerk.
it there as well?
Yeah, I just felt so heavy. I was not ready for that. The clean and jerk today, nothing impressive. It felt so heavy. So my Olympic lifts weren't great this week, but
Overhead
some other
squat.
things.
That honestly, there's not many people out there at our level could do that at the same time.
Yeah, well, I hope not. I
No,
want to see that at the games, man. Let's go.
I'd say you do. I'd say you do.
Yeah, let's
Because the
go.
year I made it, it was like a 4 RM front squat. But Emma had me now in a, like, because we knew we were going to have squatting. So we had a full, like, squat cycle right up to it. You know what I mean? But I love overhead squat now. But whenever I saw your number, I was just like, well, he's taking the W on that one.
Yeah, I know. I've been dreaming about that movement at the games, and I was, and then in Legends, I was like, man, I hope so. And they kind of pieced it in there,
They kind of got it in there. They did. But again, I
but I
was
think
very
for
much
most it was like,
like
if you can snatch it.
I know the big guys can snatch, but I suppose in my mind, I was just like, but can they overhead squat? You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Obviously, with you guys over in America, a lot of you are coming from some sort of sport. So I was thinking, okay, there's the American footballers here. They could muscle snatch a barbell. Forget about snatching it, the muscle snatch it. But their overhead squat, that'll catch them, but it didn't. So they had pretty good mobility.
yeah. I think, I forget the guy's name. Shane, I think was his name. He got 265, big guy. It
Yeah,
was a
yeah.
really impressive lift. But yeah, the overhead squats is a unique movement, and that clearly it requires a bunch of strength. You got to get the thing overhead first, but the mobility and stability that it requires is, yeah, there is more to it than just strength for sure, and
Oh, totally.
I'd like to see more of them.
He's
Louis, again,
he's
man,
in with Dave Castro now, like, so you can put in a wee word there.
I definitely, well, if as long as Joe Linton and Bob are programming the games,
Yeah.
I'm gonna send them some notes and a few
Yeah.
chocolates and try to butter them up pretty
We
good.
should follow on from legends, and just try and keep that movement in there.
So they do some things pretty consistently. So their programming is good for me, actually. They tend to do shorter time domains, kind of high power things, which is definitely more in my wheelhouse. And actually, the last year's games, they had that 18-minute AMRAP. That was a big stretch. That was new, and I'm glad that they did that. And then there was the 7K run. That was definitely outside my comfort zone. And so
Yeah,
I think last year's games was really well programmed, and then there was a better balance of, the short time domain, high power output stuff, but also some things that were a grind, and you
it
had to really,
definitely did seem compared to Alabama. It definitely did seem that I did a few of them then at home, and like they were great. They were really good tests.
yeah, yeah. I mean, we'll see.
Yeah,
Got to be prepared for anything.
you have to get there.
That's right. We got to get there first.